Another major headline tonight, the governor of California declaring a statewide emergency as those potentially historic winds fuel multiple wildfires. One of the newest erupting right there in Vallejo, north of San Francisco, burning up a hill, threatening the homes you see, and families forced to evacuate with fire on both sides of the road. Homes and businesses have already been lost as firefighters battle to save the rest. ABC's Will Reeve tonight on the scene.
Tonight, a statewide emergency in California and two new fires igniting near the Carquinez Bridge northeast of San Francisco.
Those homes are very much in danger right now.
Residents with hoses defending their homes as crews rush in to fight the Glen Cove fire. Our Rob Marciano at the Sky Fire.
Look how low he got. This is precision. These choppers have been coming in every 5 minutes. They do not want this fire to cross I-80.
But the Glen Cove fire did. Drivers surrounded by blinding smoke enveloping the roadway.
80, just past the toll plaza here, is closed and they're turning traffic around.
Two firefighters injured battling the blaze. This amid potentially historic fire weather conditions to the north.
So they're working hard to defend this structure. You can see the propane tanks already venting.
In Sonoma County, winds gusting above 90 miles per hour, turbocharging the Kincade fire's spread through wine country. More than 3,000 firefighters battling the 30,000-acre blaze.
With the winds picking up, the flames are encroaching on this vineyard, the fire snaking all the way up the property.
In Healdsburg, this winery reduced to rubble. Patients evacuated from this Santa Rosa hospital.
Overnight, this house catching fire. As the sun rises, it is completely engulfed. The structure is crumbling.
By daybreak, some 180,000 people ordered to evacuate the county. Traffic jamming Highway 101. Tonight, the state's governor says they're deploying every resource available to fight fires. These critical conditions also threatening some 8 million people in Southern California as the work week begins.
And Will Reeve joins us now live from a neighborhood firefighters were actually able to save. And Will, I want to talk about some of the power now because power has already been cut off to nearly 1 million customers, and there are warnings of even more cuts in the week ahead.
Yeah, Tom, that power is cut to prevent lines from sparking or anything else that might cause a fire. Here in the neighborhood in the town of Windsor, firefighters packing up, the smoke hanging low and thick and pungent. On the front lines, reports of firefighters battling hurricane-force winds, major threats to neighborhoods like this one and the whole region. Tom?
Hurricane-force wind gusts plus those wildfires. All right, Will, thank you for that. The wildfire threat is moving to the southern part of the state. ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano is in the fire zone at Chard Hillside there behind him. Rob, what does the threat look like in the days ahead?
Well, we've got more wind coming tonight down to Southern California. As you mentioned, the Chard Hillside here, firefighters able to get a handle on this blaze before it reached any farther south. But we are still under extremely critical fire weather conditions tonight across this area with low levels of humidity and winds gusting to 60 miles per hour. And then it begins to shift down to the south, as it often does. So Southern California, the hills around Los Angeles and Ventura counties, tomorrow morning extremely critical. So explosive fire growth there if we get anything to spark. This is the backside of these snowstorms that come into Colorado. In Denver in the morning, you could have 4 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. Winter storm warnings there. And another one coming down on Tuesday, which will reinvigorate the Santa Ana winds on Wednesday for Southern California. That could be the strongest event of the season. The rains across the Northeast, while we'd love to have them here, that's nowhere to be seen. Tom?
No relief in sight. All right, Rob, thank you for that.
For so much of the country. This Friday morning, one more blast of cold air and snow before it comes to an end.
Yeah, take a look at this. A waterfall in Minnesota completely frozen over I can't even get my head around this. It dropped to 56 degrees below zero there this week, and that is without factoring in the wind chill.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this system, it's been extremely brutal, as we all know, and it's blamed for at least 15 deaths. The snow is still coming down this morning in some areas, so it is not over yet. ABC's Whit Johnson is starting us off in upstate New York. Good morning, Whit.
Michael, good morning to you. This lake effect snow not letting up. Take a look at this park, the trees, everything completely smothered. It's up to my knees as I try to walk through it. Some parts of upstate New York getting more than 3 feet of snow. The deadly polar blast not done yet.
This morning, that deep freeze that has claimed the lives of at least 15 people is on the move. Whiteout conditions, a common theme on northeastern roadways where driving was impossible.
We've pulled over the car to the side of the road to wait it out. Take a look in front of us. That's all you see. Nothing but snow falling at a rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour.
North of Syracuse, highways littered with vehicles sliding off the road, stuck in thick snow. Drivers left stranded everywhere you turn. In Paterson, New Jersey, the polar blast freezing that town's Great Falls. A state worker in New Hampshire badly injured when ice from a vehicle 5 cars in front flew off and into the truck's windshield. The bone-chilling temps still being felt across the Midwest. The Chicago River, now a thick block of ice as the city passes the 80-hour mark in these treacherous conditions. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, police telling ABC News they responded to more than 50 accidents in the city on Thursday. Watch as an out-of-control car slides right into a police SUV. The officers had been directing traffic for a different accident when the driver hit them.
Take a look at the consistency of this snow as it hits the ground. It's light and fluffy here, but with these sub-zero wind chills, it quickly turns to ice, making for extremely dangerous driving conditions. Officials are urging people to stay indoors until the warmer temperatures come over the weekend, finally providing some relief. Michael?
I'm sure you can't wait for that warmer weather, Whit. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Ginger, who's going to tell us when this unseasonably warm-up is on the way. Hey, Ginger.
Yes, exactly, Michael. 11 out here this morning, feeling better. And that's weird when 11 feels better. But we are still very cold and still dangerously cold still this morning for a few folks. So keep an eye on those wind chills this morning. 2 is what it feels like in Detroit, 13 below for Syracuse, and 15 below in Burlington. But it will come with a little hit of snow this morning, some winter weather advisories all the way over to close to Washington, D.C. So if you're traveling 70 or 80 or even 95, you may run into that. And then we see the change. That jet stream going to bubble up and allow for a huge swing in temperatures. You talk about whiplash. You're going to go some 70 degrees in Chicago to be near 50 on Monday. New York City, I'll be standing here on Monday at 53 degrees. So major improvements coming, but of course, there's a whole slew of things that happens with that, which I'll have in a bit, George.
Morning on a pair of stabbing attacks in Europe. In the UK, police identifying the suspect who killed 2 people on London Bridge as a convicted terrorist released from prison just last year.
That man was wearing a fake explosive vest and was killed by police. Investigators say they're treating the attack as terror-related.
And in the Netherlands, a suspect is still on the loose after an assault on a main shopping street in The Hague. 3 people there suffered minor injuries. For the latest on both of these attacks, let's go straight to ABC's James Longman, who is in London. James, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Eva. Huge shock this morning as this attack took place in almost exactly the same spot as the 2017 attack. Take a look. Buses still sitting abandoned on the road there behind me. 3 people in the hospital, 2 people have been killed. The suspect named this morning as Usman Khan, a 28-year-old convicted terrorist who was only released from prison last year.
This morning, London reeling from a terror attack in the heart of the city, but celebrating the heroes who brought the suspect down. At around 2 p.m, police were called to reports of multiple stabbings at London Bridge, but passers-by had already intercepted the knife-wielding man. Watch them wrestle him to the ground. Their bravery even more extraordinary as he seems to be wearing a suicide vest, later revealed to be a fake. One of those stepping in, describing the ordeal to ITV News.
He was wielding 2 knives, one was sort of duct taped to his hand. Tried to stamp as hard as I could on his wrist, try and, release the knife.
You could see another man seizing his knife and slowly backing away. A police officer on the scene pulling people off and moving back. They opened fire, shooting him dead.
Keep going, out of the way, please! Out of the way! Out of the way, please! Come on, go that way!
When terror struck, hundreds fled.
You can see emergency services have rushed to the area now. People have been cleared right the way back. There's a lot of panic here. Helicopters in the air. People are scared of a repeat of those 2017 attacks.
That van and knife rampage also on London Bridge and in nearby restaurants. It left 8 people dead. Go, 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 go. Enrique Fernandez tells me of the panic inside one cafe.
I just thought we could be the next major terrorist attack.
Were you scared?
Yeah, petrified. I've never been so scared in my life.
Windows, go, go! Customers rushing down the stairs into the basement to hide. Authorities have yet to establish a motive, but ABC understands the man was a convicted terrorist, recently released from prison and had known links to terror groups. Last night in the Netherlands, another stabbing sends holiday shoppers running to safety. The attack left 3 minors injured, and investigators are still searching for a motive.
Now, the stories of bravery here in London just keep coming. We're hearing one man in a building near where the attack started took an animal tusk off a wall and confronted this man. It is worth repeating. They thought he was wearing a suicide vest. I can tell you it, as a Londoner myself, I'm feeling rather proud of my city this morning.
Absolutely, James. People going right towards the danger to do something about it. Thank you for your report. We appreciate it.
And there are new developments on the North Korean missile tests yesterday. South Korean officials saying the projectiles appear to have been fired from a, quote, super large rocket launcher, sparking speculation the rogue regime could soon deploy a new weapon system. Now, this comes as the year-end deadline set by Kim Jong-un for nuclear talks is approaching. Pyongyang threatening to abandon negotiations unless Washington is willing to make major concessions.
North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un tonight is expressing, quote, great satisfaction following the launch of 2 short-range ballistic missiles and the system used to fire them. North Korea released this picture of Kim, who oversaw the test earlier today. The news proved unsettling to the U.S. and its allies. Ramy Inocencio is in Seoul, South Korea tonight.
As Americans woke up for Thanksgiving, more provocation from North Korea. It came in the form of 2 projectiles. North Korea said it successfully tested a super large multiple rocket launcher, reaching an estimated height of 60 miles. They traveled up to 230 miles before crashing into the waters off Japan's west coast. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff responded by urging the North to cease all acts of aggression. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe referred to them as ballistic missiles, which presents a serious threat to the entire world. On Monday, state media reported that North Korean troops had conducted artillery drills near the country's sea boundary with the South. In recent weeks, North Korea has ramped up its displays of military force while warning the United States that a crisis could be at hand if a new nuclear deal isn't reached by December 31st. North Korea's economy has been struggling since the U.S. imposed sanctions over the country's nuclear program. But talks between the 2 countries have been stalled since February, when President Trump rejected North Korea's demands that U.S.-imposed sanctions be removed. Since then, the messages sent from Pyongyang have been loud and clear. The Trump administration has yet to respond to North Korea's December 31st deadline, but the State Department is aware of this latest launch and is monitoring the situation with its regional allies.
In Iraq, a dramatic escalation. Hundreds of anti-government protesters storming the compound of the Iranian consulate late Tuesday in the southern city of Najaf, setting parts of the diplomatic mission on fire, replacing an Iranian flag with the Iraqi one.
When the consulate was set on fire, all the riot police in Najaf and the security forces started firing at us as if we were burning Iraq as a whole. The riot police fired tear gas canisters intensively, and the security forces rained us heavily with live bullets.
Protesters say Iran is exerting too much power in Iraq, and they want the Iraqi government to take action to limit it. According to analysts, it's not just this attack that's significant, but also the symbolism of where it took place.
This is the city where the Ayatollah Khomeini used to live. It's considered to be, the heart of the Shia Muslim world. And Iran thought that it had the population, the Iraqi Shia population, on its side in terms of its, regional policies. Clearly, that's not the case.
This is the second time this month that an Iranian consulate in a Shia-majority city has been targeted by Iraqi demonstrators. 3 weeks ago, security forces killed 4 demonstrators who stormed the consulate in the city of Karbala. Both attacks feed into the wider anti-government protest movement that's engulfed Iraq since October. By early Wednesday, violence in yet another Shia-majority southern city. Dozens killed or wounded in Nasiriyah when security forces opened fire with live rounds and tear gas to disperse crowds of protesters. Hours later, Iraq's military announced that troops would be dispatched to southern Iraq to restore order. Anti-government demonstrations have been raging in Iraq since early October, with protesters accusing the government of corruption and demanding a complete overhaul of the country's political system. Since the unrest began, at least 350 people have been killed and thousands wounded.
Day after day, the demonstrators that we speak with, be they in Baghdad or other cities, tell us they don't feel the government is taking their demands seriously. They say that no matter the risk, they will continue to come out and press for the rights and opportunities they say they deserve.
Iranian state media quoting its supreme leader as calling recent mass protests against the government a conspiracy involving Saudi Arabia, the U.S., and Israel, without offering any evidence. Not talking about how bad the economy is and its stewardship there. Iran also still not disclosing statistics on the injuries, arrests, and deaths in its crackdown on protests there. Trey Yingst has more from Jerusalem. Trey.
Liz, with the internet in Iran now restored, the world is getting a closer look about what exactly happened last week during nationwide demonstrations. Video shows crowds of people running from security forces who are firing live ammunition. Also, there are new images of citizens being arrested and processed in a detention facility. More than 140 demonstrators were killed last week as protests erupted over rising gas prices in at least 20 different Iranian cities. That according to a human rights group. Experts say the protests that took place are different from the 1979 Islamic Revolution, since the current regime has deep support and loyalty from security forces and the army. The Iranian regime has a tight grip on the civilian population, and many have been deterred from going to the streets, making it difficult for the current anti-government movement to gain widespread support. Last Friday, the United States sanctioned Iran's information minister responsible for cutting the internet, freezing any of his property under U.S. jurisdiction. One U.S. official told Fox the decision to take down the internet access was unacceptable, but not unexpected. Iran's supreme leader this week is now blaming the United States for the deaths of their citizens last week, saying America encouraged, quote, thugs to kill people in the streets.
It was a deep, extensive, and very dangerous conspiracy that cost the U.S. so much money and effort. They wanted to use an opportunity to carry out this move, which was an act of destruction, arson, murder, and vandalism under the pretext of gasoline.
What you just heard is Iranian propaganda. Iran has a long history of blaming both the United States and Israel for violence within its own borders. There is no evidence to support the claims put forward by Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei.